Hello humans, Master Dinnerflex here, bringing you the low quality content you deserve, and today I'll be going over Labrynth. I shorten it to Lab all the time. Basically I wanted to get a deck profile out here for this deck, and I'm going to say right now, I'll have to explain why I'm not playing certain cards rather than I am playing certain cards, because this deck has a lot of cards in its archetype that are very niche and situational, and I see a lot of people play them, but when I actually play the deck and try to use them, they're genuinely the worst cards I've ever... They're terrible. They're past bad. They're completely nonsensically bad, but I'll explain that when I get to it. But I just want to get into this deck and explain some of the choices. So, for the starters, we have 3 green and 2 pink. So, both of these have the same second effect, where if a normal trap takes a monster off the board, you can draw a card, and then you can special a fiend from your hand or set a trap from your hand. Spell a trap, I should say. That's what's on both of them. But the first effect of green is when it's normal summoned, you add any Labrynth card, normal or special summoned, you add any Labrynth card from your deck to your hand. But if you use that effect, you can't use the other. Pink, on the other hand, you can send a normal trap from your hand or set to the graveyard to special summon a level 4 lower fiend monster from your deck in defense. But this one, you can use the draw effect that same turn. Now, a lot of people play like 1 to 0 of the pink, and I gotta say, the deck is not... You don't want to do that. So, yes, it loses to a lot of hand traps, but the effect that matters on this card is not the summon from deck. That is really strong. That's a really strong effect, but if you're worried about it getting hand trapped, that's not the important part of this card. The important part of this card is the second effect, which also is on green. So you just want as many second effects as possible without adding too many normal summons, which I found 5 to be that number. Because what I normally do is sometimes when I want to draw, I want to see new cards. Instead of going for Silver Castle, I'll go for pink, get a pop, get a draw. Because ripping a card out of your opponent's hand or field, sometimes it just doesn't matter. And this is one of the cases where it's definitely... This card just matters a lot more than people give it credit for. Not even for its first effect, but its second effect. And then, of course, we got 2 Silver Castle. She definitely is... It's beyond important to the deck. So, it doesn't have its own summoning condition, which is interesting on a modern boss monster. But there's so many ways to summon it out of your hand. If you draw it, it's fine. Like, that's what both of these do. And then the field spell also does it. So, it's not bad if you draw it, unless you just draw nothing else. But when a trap takes a monster off the board, normal trap, you get to destroy a random card in your opponent's hand or destroy a card they control, which is insanely strong. I got some replays with it, and you can see how ridiculous it is with that. But also, you can target a normal trap in your graveyard, and you can set it to your field, but it can't be activated unless you control a fiend. This literally means certain traps are just an absolute in this deck. Once you see them, you always have them. And this is a perfect example of that, D-Barrier. Pretty much, once you have Silver Castle and D-Barrier set, D-Barrier is active forever. So if there's a deck that just loses to it, they've lost the game. And it's as simple as that. Next, we got triple Shindara. No, 2 Shindara, 2 Stove. So it's 4 furniture. The clock is beyond terrible. It is so bad. Pretty much, if you're thinking the card is good, you probably don't understand how trap decks actually want to function. The idea of turn reach, I've been throwing around a lot, and I really need to make a video on it one day. But basically, you changing the turn reach of a trap doesn't do anything. It's a straight -1 to do nothing, really. you're not actually achieving anything because there's not that many traps that you really want to activate on your turn instead of your opponent. The card's just so useless. It's a -1 to do nothing. And then the Archfiend is also really, really bad. Battle traps aren't good. It's as simple as that, which by extension, the Labrynth battle trap is also not in here. It's so bad. Like, all of those cards are so bad, and you'll actually see... Let me just go to the rest of the Labrynth cards. I'm only playing 2 field spell, 3 trap. So, I'm not playing the Fair Welcome, I'm not playing the Battle Trap, I'm not playing the Recycle one, because all of them are so niche, situational. This is a trap deck that really wants to be in your face. It wants to actively take cards away from you as fast as possible, and none of those cards do that. They are so gimmicky. They are so mediocre. It is laughable. It is laughable how terrible these cards are. They don't synergize well with all the other aspects of the deck. It's just terrible. It really is. Which is why I feel like underwhelmed when we get to the spells and traps, because they definitely need one more. They definitely need one more that matters. The problem is, all the others you look for don't matter. They're all gimmicky. They're all nonsense. Which is why this is my only lineup. But this might have you question, why am I playing Furniture at all? Especially not with Backjack. So, it is just because I needed consistency boosters, but more importantly, once you get them in circulation, they're free floaters. They constantly come back and it's fine. And they're just tribute fodder for Lilith, or they're like, just damage. Not to mention, this deck can go into grind games really often, and you just want as many names. You want to activate Welcome Labrynth forever. You just want to activate it as many times as possible. And having more than 7 names allows that. So I'm not playing Backjack, because I think it's actually just a straight up worse starter than Lilith. Even to the benefits that Backjack has, they're just thoroughly eclipsed by what Lilith does. So Backjack has a problem where if you activate Welcome Labrynth, you can no longer link it away safely. You have to make it into a Link 2 Fiend, which not many of them are good. And so you can't link Karibo it away. You can't relinquish Anima it away because those aren't fiends. Which Welcome Labrynth, by the way, it special summons a Labrynth from your deck, and when you do that, you can't special summon from the deck or extra deck except fiends. And then also, during the turn after it's sent to the grave, if the trap takes a monster off the board, it resets itself. Pretty nice. But this restriction is really bad for Backjack. But in addition to that, the idea of drawing it with Furniture is as gimmicky as it sounds. That will only ever work if you have Maxine in your deck, which is why people were doing that. They were just copying an OCG list, not realizing that strategy is terrible unless you're drawing thousands of cards with, Maxine. So that strategy was as gimmicky as it sounds, and even at the end of all of it, it doesn't guarantee you anything. It getting a random trap is neat, but if you want a trap, you want the trap you want. You don't want, oh, look at this, I'll set another trap I can't use right now. No. You just want to get the trap you want. And Lilith, yes, it's another normal summon if you don't find a way to summon it, but that's the key thing, and why I also have quite a bit of these, is because you are summoning it with an effect. You're not actually... You can normal summon it if you need to, but that's not your ultimate plan. What you really want to do with this is summon it off of the level 4s, because when you summon it off of a level 4, it means you drew the exact trap card in your deck you wanted, because Lilith is controlled trap, whereas Backjack is just random, you get what you get. This one gets you the exact one you want. It's 2,000 attack when you do it, so it helps go for game in a deck that's not really great with OTKs. Not to mention, once you have the field spell up, Lilith becomes like an infinite resource because it makes a trap, but when you use that trap, it makes a Lilith, and that Lilith makes a trap, that makes a Lilith, that makes a trap. It basically an infinite cycle of each other, and it can help you really snowball your opponent out, and that's what we want to do with this deck. Backjack is like a one-time thing. It has so many conditions on it, and while it has a few benefits, those benefits are eclipsed by what Lilith does in this deck. So that's why I'm playing Lilith over it, and yes, it's a little awkward that I have 3 Lilith and like all this furniture, because it seems a little weird, but I just wanted more starters for this, and Lilith is a superior, like, follow-up than Backjack could ever dream of, and it's as simple as that, which is why I don't play it. And like I said, there's so many ways to summon it. Normal summoning is a very rare thing. You rarely normal summon it. Also, this deck is dependent on drawing non-engine cards. So, whether you like it or not, you're going to need like a Backjack or Lilith card. And I'd rather have one that guarantees the trap I want, which if I need to trigger cards, get one of these. Or if I want to floodgate them and call it a day, I get this. Because, like I said, Backjack doesn't guarantee anything, but when I can guarantee a D-barrier while I have Silver Castle up, that's game. And it's as simple as that. It's just game. So that's why I'm going for this approach. X-Trap, you know, the only Mr. Rune, like, protector I'm playing is Freezing Curse. It's just Chalice, plus it also is Starlight Road. Neat. And then 2 Field Spell, and then 3 of the trap I explained. The Field Spell, whenever you activate this trap, it gains the effect to destroy a card on the field. So this deck, like, quite literally cannot lose to Mystic Mine. It's just a literal impossibility. But also, when you activate a non-Labrynth normal trap, you can go ahead and revive any fiend from your hand or graveyard. So that's how this, like, Lilith cycle works. You grab, like, some random nonsense like D-Barrier, resolve it, your opponent gets stuck, and you get to revive a 2k Lilith, which is nice. Then we got triple Compulse, triple Ice Dragons, and triple Punishment. I will say, there's a few other removal traps I want to test out, like the Ledger Book, but also, we're going to get the, it's an Underroot trap. Not the first one, but we're getting a new one in Power of the Elements, and it sets a card from your opponent's graveyard to their field, and it takes the card off their field. It doesn't sound very good on paper until you realize the amount of actual dead cards decks play. Not only can you remove what you set super easily, but it can remove any card off the board, but your opponent gets a card they can't do anything with as like a compensation. It's just a very good trap. I want to test with it more, but this was a list I had currently. Compulse is nice, because if you have like Silver Castle and Arena, you can Compulse the normal summon, Silver Castle will take a card out of their hand, and then you can normal summon it to get its effect again. So you can generate a lot of advantage just by compulsing your own stuff. It's hilarious. Ice Dragon, I definitely think Underroot is going to be better than this card. As weird as it is, but yeah, I mean, Ice Dragon's pretty good. You also want to just main as many normal traps that take cards off the board as possible, because something you have to remember about this deck is, like I said, people misjudge trap decks a lot. This trap deck, all the cards say your traps need to take cards off the board and they need to be normal traps. You can't just throw a bunch of floodgates in here and think that's alright, because I was trying multiple people's builds of that, and they're terrible. They're literally worse than like anything you could ever play. And then I decided, you know what, let me obey what this deck says, and it's actually just way better. Like, trying to floodgate with this deck, outside of, like, D-Barrier or other normal traps that you can actively recycle and search, like, they suck. They really suck in here, because you won't ever have enough time to capitalize on it. And, like, since you actually can't get your engine going because you built your deck poorly, you can't even, like, benefit from your own floodgates. Not to mention, like, many floodgates actively contradict what this deck is doing. Yeah, just don't go for a floodgate version. It sounds cool in theory, but it's not. It's so terrible. But Punishment, obvious. It's probably the best normal trap we have currently access. And then Glitch. This one's neat. You have to control a Fiend to activate it. But when you do, you can target a card on the field, destroy it. Then you can send a Fiend from the deck to the graveyard. So if you have the field spell up, it actually just says summon a Fiend from your deck, which is usually Lilith in those scenarios. Maybe a Silver Castle if you're zesty. But if you don't, you can just send furniture and it'll float to you later. And then D-Barrier, I've already explained. If D-Barrier falls out of a format, You just replace it with any other Floodgate normal trap outside of Sanctum, because you can't use Sanctum at all in this deck because Welcome Labrynth locks you out of using it. And even then, like, there's a real possibility if Scythe's getting banned, then Sanctum's worthless. Extra deck, everything here is self-explanatory, except instead of Zeus, because of Welcome Labrynth, we're locked into Fiends, I went Exciton because it is a Fiend. I have summoned it once, and it actually mattered. But outside of that, it just... this is an extra deck. Your extra deck is whatever you want it to be, because plenty of it's just going to go away. And then the side deck, up to you. Just remember you're playing a trap deck, so side accordingly. That's basically it from the deck. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I have replays at the end of this video that you guys can enjoy. I may or may not post a quick video of me showing off my Minecraft world, because like I said, I had a post, and I'm just taking a break from my Yu-Gi-Oh! It's good for you. Taking breaks from this game is legitimately good for you. I felt like I needed a break, so I am. But like I said, I'm still going to post videos, because I'm still playing occasionally, just very, very little. I also want to test out the Loris Loop Lair of Darkness, because that deck's pretty cool, but like everything about Power of the Elements, I've already tested heavily, so there's not really any point of me like making mini videos on it. Like, you can look back and you can see some stuff for that. But yep, that's about it. Thank you all for watching. Enjoy the replays, and thank you all for watching. And remember, Master Influx will take your soul.